Hey, so I realize a lot of people might, follow the channel for iFloater updates, and if you do comment on anything, I'm happy to comment back and give my latest thoughts. But I wanted to make a little bit more of an extensive video for anyone curious on how things are going these days. But first of all, I know, I have a pretty extensive web of floaters in my left eye. I know a lot of people might have it worse than that. So I just want to acknowledge that's okay. There's no judgment there if you are suffering in that way. I know people are kind of at their wits' end with just going every day with this kind of stuff. And I I know there's like the surgeries and there's kind of like it's hard to get a read on which ones are maybe like helpful or dangerous, or like some even seem miraculous. But also maybe the testing isn't complete in some of those things. So it's seems a little bit sketchy, but I would definitely look into that if you're kind of at your wit's end. I think there shouldn't be any judgment on anyone on what they're dealing with. And that might be a good option for someone. I'm not there yet. But yeah, definitely something I would maybe consider down the road. Yeah, but for me, from I'm dealing with now and coping with things, the first one is just to kind of like after, almost 2 years now of like researching and trying to figure out a way to kind of get rid of these things, is to kind of realize that they're not going away. They're not going to be gone. And that's just how it is. And once I accept that, I can kind of move forward with a plan or a strategy or a mentality that can help me. I do realize, and what's helpful is to know that I think a lot of people have even very faint floaters. Maybe almost everyone. I know people say, "Yeah, I look up in the sky and it's sunny and I see this kind of thing, and oh, I didn't notice that before." So it's kind of helpful to know that a lot of people have them. I just have more of them, and it's kind of a natural thing. It's part of my body, and like that's okay. I can move forward and be healthy with them. Getting eye doctor checks regularly, very good, but just accepting them has helped. Just accepting, hey, here they are. And I think it's changed my mentality to be like, oh, there they are again. And just dig into this negativity of like, man, like I just can't do this anymore. But to just be like, no, there they are. Yeah, I know they're gonna be there, and that's okay. Yeah, and it doesn't sound too exciting, but that's a step I think has been important for me. The other one is kind of a few things, like wearing sunglasses helps a lot, at least to take a break from the brightness. But the other thing is, I mentioned this before, is just like even with the snow, is just to really embrace the brightness and to let my eyes do some of the work. Eyes are like super smart and super strong, and they can focus in even with my floaters. Like I'm looking down at a tree and there's snow and blue sky all around. I can focus in on that tree enough. My eyes are still enough that I don't see my floaters. And I move my eyes a little bit, I can see them a little bit. But I'm like, hey, let's get some eye strength training here. Let's not always have the sunglasses on. If I'm in a bright room, if there's snow, I'm gonna let my eyes do a little bit of a workout and try to focus on the things I want them to focus on. And that mentality takes me back into when the snow is gone, and when I do have, normal level lights or low lights, my eyes are going to be that much more stronger in not seeing the floaters. It's kind of like an extreme, just kind of like an extreme exposure for my eyes. Not like staring at the sun, but just like looking around and letting my eyes keep working on focusing on the things I want them to look at. I hope that makes sense. I'm not the best at explaining things. The last thing that I think, and maybe this is the most helpful, most practical, is the one thing that's helped actually make my floaters less was a couple of fasts I did, especially the 72-hour fast, full 72 hours, nothing but water. And when I'm brushing my teeth, toothpaste, and probably a little bit of salt. I put in the water. But the day after that, when I went outside, and I was like, this has made a change. But I'm like, but am I just seeing things? Am I, no pun intended, but am I just, is it kind of like a placebo? I then went the next day, and I was searching for the big web, and it was definitely faded. I think this is to do with inflammation. Okay, so I know there's autophagy. I think that's a good thing too, but I'm more based on the facts of inflammation going down. I think floaters are I think anything to do with our bodies has a lot to do with inflammation, and that can come from our diets, sugar, dehydration, things like that. So a fast can kind of like rid you of the inflammation, make your eyes feel better. My hunch is that after going back to eating, if it's just a normal diet again, if I'm eating lots of sugar, whatever, those floaters are probably going to get more extensive again. But to me, that's like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Do I want to do, how much sugar can I cut out of my diet? How serious am I about getting rid of this stuff to actually completely change my diet? And it's hard. Like, you wouldn't be able to drink beer, you wouldn't be able to eat bread. There's a lot of things to consider, and even just a lifestyle like that isn't always about just like, well, can I do it? But like, how could I do that? Like, I have my family. I'm going to eat different than everyone. Social situations, stuff like that. It's just another thing to consider. Our diets in North America really suck, and all the processed food we eat and everything, I'm sure contributes to a number of things, including the amount of eye floaters that we are seeing. But to me, that's like a super encouraging thing to say, hey, there's a way to make these a little less prominent. Doing a 72-hour fast is tough when you have a regular work and stuff that you're doing. My plan now is on spring break, when I have a couple days off, I'm going to try another 72-hour fast. I haven't heard from too many people, anyone watching my channel, if they've done any fasts like that, if they've had success, but I know I have. So that's kind of another thing that can help me cope. But yeah, the last thing tying on is, it comes back to the, we all have our own things to deal with, and there's people that, man, life slams them hard. With tragedy and just like life-altering things. And they move on, they move forward, they adapt, and they can still enjoy life. So eye floaters, to me, in the big picture, aren't, it could be a lot worse. And I know if you think of it could be a lot worse, you can kind of get down and just think of how many troubles people have, and that's one way to look at it. But also just thinking, man, like, I could be almost thankful that I've got eye floaters, and I'm not, having to deal with another, hardship. I've had different things happening recently, like this with my face and my jaw. I've had I think I've had an earache, 2 eye infections. I've had like a facial kind of like anxiety that has brought on nerve aggravation. And this whole time I'm like, man, I wish I just could deal with my floaters and not have to deal with this stuff. So that just gave me kind of like a good perspective. All I have to say again is that commiseration and knowing there's other people dealing with stuff and still walking through life and still enjoying life, enjoying people around them and their family and everything like that, friends. That's encouraging for me, because yeah, it sucks. It sucks. But we move forward, and I think it can actually make us stronger and even more grateful and thankful for the things we do have. So that's my latest update. I went super long, but I've been getting some comments. I wanted to make sure I covered some of that. And yeah, if it sounds too positive for you, that's where I'm at right now. I got to be positive. Being positive can help you enjoy life more. Dwelling on negative stuff will help you not enjoy life more. So, and sometimes it is a choice, and it's hard. And sometimes I like, screw it, you know. But that's where I'm at right now. Yeah, good luck to you, blessings to you, and yeah, we'll talk again.